The sun had barely risen over the kingdom of Yugo, casting a warm golden light that illuminated the thatched roofs and the bustling market square. The air was filled with the sounds of drums, laughter, and the sweet scent of freshly baked bread and roasting meats. The villagers moved in harmony, their spirits lifted by the joy of the early morning. Yet, amid the revelry, an unusual event was unfolding within the palace walls. The atmosphere shifted when the drums of alarm echoed throughout the city, summoning the villagers to the great square. Whispers of a holy man's arrival spread quickly, and the air was thick with curiosity and anxiety. The kingdom's high priest, Aba, entered the court with eyes wide in spiritual fervor, his staff striking the marble floor as he addressed the royal family and the council. "The gods have spoken," Aba proclaimed loudly, his voice resonating through the chamber. "Princess Adaora, your beloved daughter, shall be healed of her blindness. But this blessing will only come through a union with madness itself." The room fell silent as King Oba's face darkened with concern, his thick beard bristling. Queen Urenma's hands fluttered anxiously, tears welling in her eyes. "What madness do you speak of?" the king demanded, his voice a mixture of disbelief and urgency. The priest lowered his voice, his words heavy with foreboding. "A madman. Her husband must be one whom the spirits have touched with insanity. Only then will her sight be restored." Queen Urenma's heart shattered, and she cradled Adaora in her arms, weeping bitterly. "Why must the gods be so cruel?" she sobbed, her voice breaking. But Adaora, calm and serene, placed a hand on her mother's. "If this is the will of the gods, I will trust in it," she said softly. "I desire to see, mother, to know the faces of those I love." The court murmured in distress as the weight of the prophecies settled over the room. After a long silence, King Oba had no choice but to declare, "The search for the kingdom's maddest man has begun." Far beyond the palace walls, in the shadowy depths of Easel Forest, a man named Ikenna had once known peace. He had been the son of a prosperous businessman, but years of land disputes with his relatives had led to the ruin of his family. His father's death and the suffering of his mother and sister had driven him to madness. Now, he wandered the forest barefoot, wearing rags, his wild hair falling to his shoulders. His dark eyes flickered with the remnants of his lost sanity, and the villagers spoke in hushed tones of his strange behavior, howling at the moon, chasing unseen demons, and battling phantoms that no one else could see. "Stay away from him," mothers warned their children. "The madman curses those who come too close." Ikenna's descent into madness had been swift and brutal, fueled by grief, anger, and a desire for revenge. But even in his madness, there were moments when he glimpsed the man he once was. The king's guards found Ikenna beneath an ancient baobab tree, growling like a cornered animal. They subdued him with ropes and dragged him back to Yugo Kingdom. He was locked in an empty room in the palace, his tantrums echoing through the stone halls as he screamed and paced restlessly. The queen despised him, her sorrow for her daughter's fate deepening with each passing day. But Princess Adaora, full of quiet hope, waited for the day when she would finally see the world. The day of the wedding was somber, the grand hall draped in heavy tapestries of gold and crimson. Nobles and commoners alike gathered to witness a union born of necessity, not love, a marriage between a beautiful, blind princess and a man they feared and pitied. Princess Adaora, dressed in flowing white robes embroidered with symbols of the gods, stood still as her attendants prepared her for the ceremony. Her heart raced with anticipation, but she held her head high, unafraid. "Are you frightened?" her maidservant Ikenna asked gently. "No," Adaora whispered. "Fear is for those who have no hope. I will see the world through his madness if I must." As the doors opened, Ikenna was led into the hall. His eyes darted wildly, his hands twitching as if fighting invisible foes. The crowd gasped in shock, but Adaora remained calm, her focus on the sounds around her. When the priest recited the vows, she reached out her hand. Ikenna hesitated before taking it, his grip cold and trembling. He was smiling uncontrollably, sniffing at Adaora's hands as if they held some strange, alluring scent. The priest smirked wickedly, unnoticed by anyone. With the ceremony concluded, Ikenna did not look at his bride. Instead, he dashed forward, dancing and muttering to himself. Adaora, confused by his actions, could only imagine what was going on. Her heart was filled with questions that no one could answer. In the bridal chamber, silence reigned. Ikenna paced back and forth, his bare feet thudding against the stone floor. Adaora sat on the edge of the bed, her sightless eyes staring into the darkness. "Why do you not speak?" she asked softly. He stopped, his voice low and rough. "Voices are better left unheard." "I do not fear your madness," Adaora replied, her voice steady. "I fear only a life unlived." Ikenna laughed bitterly. "A life with me is no life at all." "I believe you must have been a nice man before your insanity," she said gently. "I pray you regain it back." But Ikenna wasn't ready to listen. Days passed, and Adaora awoke each morning with hope, but the world remained dark. Servants whispered around the palace that the prophecy had been false, that the gods had not granted her sight. The kingdom was in an uproar, priests debated the meaning of the vision, and rumors spread like wildfire. Some claimed the gods were angry, others accused Aba of fabricating the prophecy for his own gain. Adaora's heart ached with disappointment, but she did not blame Ikenna. She saw him not as a madman, but as a tortured soul. One evening, she asked, "Ikenna, what do you see when you look at me?" He turned away, his voice hollow. "Nothing. Just darkness, like my own mind." Adaora wept that night, praying silently for the gods to heal her sight. Then, a priest from a distant village arrived with shocking news. He stood before the king and the court, confronting priest Aba. "You are a liar," the rival priest shouted. "There was no vision from the gods, only greed in your heart. You wanted the king dead. The marriage of the princess to the madman is a cover-up for your evil plans." The kingdom erupted in outrage. Aba was accused of treachery, and evidence against him was presented. His lies were exposed, and he was cast out in disgrace. But the damage had been done. 2 days after Aba's lies were revealed, Ikenna awoke as if from a long nightmare. Clarity returned to his mind, but the freedom from madness brought no peace. His heart, hardened by years of suffering, had turned to bitterness. He mocked Adaora's blindness, dismissing her as the god's unfinished work. He withdrew all affection and left her to suffer in loneliness. Meanwhile, Adaora found solace in the royal gardens, a sanctuary where her other senses came alive. The scent of blooming jasmine filled the air, and the cool breeze whispered secrets to her. One afternoon, a soothing voice reached her ears, and she met Ikenna, a traveler from the land of Awusa. Their bond grew with each passing day as Ikenna painted pictures of the world with his words. For the first time in her life, Adaora felt the joy of seeing, not with her eyes, but with her heart. Love blossomed between them, gentle and persistent. But Ikenna, consumed by jealousy, noticed a change in Adaora. He followed her one evening to the gardens and confronted Ikenna, rage overtaking him. "What treachery is this?" he roared. "You dare steal what belongs to me?" Ikenna stood firm, protecting Adaora. She is not an object to be owned. She is a woman of strength and grace. Ikenna's fury boiled over, but before he could act, the guards arrived, restraining him. News of the confrontation spread, and King Oba summoned both men to his court. Adaora, her heart heavy with guilt and sorrow, confessed, "I am to blame, but my heart has found joy where I did not expect." The king, though saddened, acknowledged her courage. Ikenna, standing tall, asked for Adaora's hand in marriage, offering his kingdom's friendship and his eternal devotion. The king, impressed by Ikenna's bravery, set a challenge. Ikenna must journey to the cursed Easel forest and retrieve the Obi stone, a gem of great power symbolizing truth and purity. Ikenna, consumed by jealousy, believed Emeka would not survive the journey. But Emeka's resolve was unwavering. In the heart of the forest, Emeka battled fierce illusions and spirits, ultimately retrieving the Obi stone. When he returned, the kingdom rejoiced. The king raised the stone high, declaring, "The gods honor truth and courage." As the light from the stone filled the hall, Ikenna fell to his knees, his memories of betrayal and bitterness flooding back. "I was blind long before you," he whispered, tears streaming down his face. Adaora, though her heart had moved on, forgave him. Ikenna was sent away, and he regretted the pain he had caused. On the day of Adaora and Emeka's wedding, the hall was filled with joy and celebration. Although Adaora remained blind, her soul was filled with light. Emeka whispered, "I will be your eyes, always." And she replied, "And I will be your heart." Just as they began their new life together, a surprise occurred. Priest Aba, holding a white powder, attempted one final act. But the rival priest presented the Obi stone, and as light filled the hall, Adaora's vision was miraculously restored. "I can see," she shouted in joy, and the kingdom celebrated the miracle. Adaora and Emeka's love story became a legend, a reminder that true love can overcome the darkest of challenges. And so, they lived happily ever after.